Okay. Hi, Alex.
Hey,
Very cool that you're
Sebastian.
here. Yeah, thank you for coming on and yeah, for the interview. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's really a pleasure.
Yes, the same is for me. Yeah. So, first of all, of course, many people that will listen to this or watch this will already know you. Um, or I think they do. But
Maybe.
for them, for the ones who don't, maybe just a little bit of background about you, who you are, what you do, and yeah, we go a little bit deeper after this first introduction.
Okay, so yeah, my name is Alex Pfeffer. I'm a composer and sound designer, arranger from Hamburg, Germany. And I'm just thinking while I'm talking, but I think I do this since around 2005. So it's like 17, 18 years now. And yeah, mostly write music for video games, trailer music. And yeah, also recently, like 4 years ago, I started to go a little bit more into this entrepreneur, where it's always a funny word, entrepreneur uh, route of things by
Mhm.
getting some music courses going. And basically, my main mission also with my YouTube channel is a little bit about, helping aspiring composers to get a little bit, on the right track, so to say,
Mhm.
because I still remember when I started off, it was like we didn't even have YouTube or anything. So it was pretty
Right.
hard to find the right
Mhm.
information to get feedback and yeah. So and this is who I am.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think this is. This is why I do the podcast as well, because I think that as composers, we always look at the artistic side a lot, and also in school, if you went to college or school for music, I don't know. You went to in the US, right? And you went to, was it Berkeley? No.
No, it's
Um,
Los Angeles Music Academy. They
right, right.
recently, sorry, it was actually, yes, it's true, but they recently renamed it to Los Angeles College of Music. So
I see.
it's
Hmm.
what I recently learned. I didn't know that Tal Wilkenfeld, the bass player that recently
Hmm.
joined Incubus, because
Hmm.
sadly the bass player had to cancel the course because of some kind of a brain tumor or something.
Hmm.
I just read it and I heard that Tal actually was on the same school, but just
Oh,
a few
nice.
years later. But that's
Yeah,
yeah, so probably
yeah.
it will get kind of like a boost now.
Yes. So I never went to school for music. I wanted to, but then I had the pleasure and um, I would say it was luck, or no, I pursued it really, but I worked in LA for a couple of months, and then after that I said, oh no, I probably don't need school, and then I was hired right away to a company. But I think in school, what they don't teach, and you might know more about this, but what I heard is like it's more about the connection than rather than the actual business that you're actually building as a composer,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, so this is why I find it really, and there's not many people like you that I know or that I know of that actually teach what they learned in their 20-year career to help others to achieve the same thing. So this is really, really cool that you do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you. I mean, yeah, this is like I said, when I started off, there was really no one. I mean, yes, of course, a few did it, but still today, not a lot of people just do it. They just care about the music, and which is a good thing if you want to become a composer and all that.
Mhm.
But there is so much more, I mean, I'm always convinced that music is, I always say, like, music is 1/3 and 2/3 is business. And I
Mhm.
actually think it's way more. It's actually just one
Mhm.
fifth, considering, like,
Yeah.
especially looking back after these 2 3 weeks, by going through all kinds of finances and
Mhm.
meetings with producers and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
So, and then you sit here making music, and then, oh, okay, next meeting or next writing an invoice or something, just always, like,
Mhm.
even office stuff, like answering emails and phone calls and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So I always feel like this is way more than just the actual part of writing music.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's sad but true, right? We have
Yeah.
to be able to know all the stuff. Writing. It's funny sometimes when I talk to people, composers, that they don't even know what they should put on the invoice when they work for me, for example, like
Yeah.
helping me out with something. So yeah, this is the basics should at least be covered. But yeah, and you do
Sorry, my phone.
not
I
only do
just
you have no problem, no problem. yeah, that's all cool. So you don't only have the trailer music course, but you also have like an audio entrepreneur course, right? Where you actually teach all the basics of what composers, musicians, and emerging composers should do and should
Mhm.
know. So yeah, this is really, really good. And it's funny that not many people do the same thing, but I don't know. It feels like sometimes they want to keep their own secrets and have
Yeah, I mean,
don't want to
I
share as much.
I always think, yeah, if somebody wants to, if somebody is building their entire career just on one or two secrets or something, you know, or just like a bunch of secrets, I think this is like, I don't know, it's not something that you can use, you know, that is very good in general, because if there may be other composers out there who discovered these secrets already anyway. So if it's just like a few things, like you know, I do this process when on my mastering chain, and this is why my music sounds better than everyone else. I mean, if this is the only thing that your career is based on, you should be
Sure.
worried a little bit. And yeah,
At some
not
point,
a
someone
fan of
else will figure it
secrets.
out. No,
Yeah.
no. And also, an idea is only worth so much, right? Not much, at least. It's more the execution that counts. And if you
Yeah.
have your ducks in a row, that really helps. So yeah, I think one question that I have for you, and that I will ask this to anyone that I interview here.
Mhm.
So since we are now like on the level, like we say, okay, we are entrepreneurs. Actually, we are not only artists. We need to be entrepreneurs. I would like to know from you, what was the one thing that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far? Like, do you have one thing?
Yeah. If I sum it up to just one thing only, I think my advantage that can basically everybody can do like this. Really, it's like not really a secret, but it's basically that I don't think, at least too much, about the processes that I do. I mean, back then it started. I clearly remember how this all started. That I just wrote a song with all the, you know, the cheap and light sample libraries that I had and all the sound fonts and free stuff that you could download. And I
Yeah.
just wrote a demo to East West Quantum Leap, the boss, to Doug Rogers back then. And I just wrote this crappy demo that I'm so happy nobody will ever hear, because if I would just dig it out today, it's
God.
probably really horrible. And so, and I didn't think about this. You know, I could have said, yeah, I mean, that doesn't sound good. Maybe there is room for improvement, but so let me hold it back. Let me not send it to him, because he
Yeah.
could think about whatever, and then my career is ruined, and before it even started. So I eliminated this process, and I still do that today, that I eliminate this process of thinking about stuff. How could something turn out? What would anyone think if I do it like this or that? You can't make it right for anyone anyway. I see that on my YouTube channel like every day. That there's always, you know, criticism, which is good, which is a good thing, but also negative stuff, simply just plain negative stuff. And you
Yeah.
just can't make it right for everyone. So in general, instead of just planning too long, I mean, planning and stuff is a good thing, but if you're just over planning, if you're just overthinking stuff, you get into that habit of not doing things. It's like
Right.
walking around on a pool of cold water, you know, like left and right. How cold is it? Will I get a cold? Will I freeze? Will I, you know, just whatever, you know, will I get a heart attack? Whatever, you know, it just, you know, just screw it. Just jump into the water, you know. And I
Right.
think this is
True.
the only thing that out of all things helped me most. Just to do things and just go along and say, hey, I want to have like a little store where I offer a few things, and not go like, what would people say if I offer this or offer that? And is it the right, you know, package, or is it the right box, or did I write something wrong in my email, in my header, that will people open my email and all that stuff, you know? So
Yeah.
just try out things, and the best you can do is just go back a year, just by analyzing what happened in the last year. How many people, for example, watched my video, or what was the most watched video on YouTube? And then you suddenly find out, oh, you did something specific in that video, and that may work for other stuff as well. And the same goes for my music, for my business life. So basically for everything.
Yes.
But actually for my private life too. So
yeah. I mean, the overthinking, I mean, it's a form of procrastination, right? If you think, okay, if you want to make it perfect, you're never going to start anything, right? If perfect is good enough, only perfect is good enough, you're never going to start anything. So I think this is a really valid point. I want to dig deeper into your story about your first demo for Quantum Leap at the time. I mean, when you describe it this way, I think this might have been the start of your career in a sense, right? Sending it out. I mean, you were worried. I mean, I don't know, I would have been worried, like, oh my God, what are they going to say after hitting send, right? But in the end, normally 99% of people in our industry are quite nice, and they either they don't answer at all, or they say something nice, or neutral at least.
Yeah, sounds great. And then you never hear of them.
Exactly. So I think overthinking is really a part of, I mean, I struggle with this, to be quite honest. I try to make it perfect, and then the most perfect track that I ever did was actually never listened to. So then other tracks where I just sit down and do something, it went through the roof. So it's quite interesting how this works. And you can't really know you can't know your market unless you try your stuff on, right? So
definitely. I mean, just to set this right, I'm still struggling with this overthinking process. I'm still, it's not that I'm, like, and just do stuff.
Yeah.
It still happens, but there is like, what I made my kind of like mentality is like this 5-second method, or how it's called, so that when something gets to your mind and you're about to do something, you just count down, no matter even if it's just getting up in the morning at like 5 or 5:30 or something, and doing whatever, push-ups, taking a cold shower or something, you just count down from 5, 4, 3, and then you snap your brain into something and you just do it. And if you're just hesitating, I mean, there is nothing wrong with overthinking stuff, and just making, as you said, your track sounding better and better. But there is like this point where I like to see music as a photograph. You just snap it, you just render the track, and then you say, oh yeah, I could probably edit this track for like the next 30 years, and eventually it will improve. But eventually at one point it won't be, it won't have that character or that charm or that that charm of that what you initially composed. And eventually it could also happen, if it would be like an exaggerated span of like 20 or 30 years, it will sound completely different. It will turn out into something completely different.
100%.
And then, so I believe in the moment. So, but of course, if you just think and you just edit and fiddle around on a track, and you learn a lot, but at some point you have to say, okay, now I release it, or now I send it out, and then contact this guy.
And so I would suppose that people listening to this and watching this, that they ask, when is this point? At what point is it enough, right? But I think, I don't know, my opinion is it's just experience, right?
Yeah.
I would say rather earlier than later.
I think you get to that point.
95% is always good enough. But I don't know. What's your take on that?
Sorry, there was an interruption right now.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. No problem. What's your take on the when to stop? It's like when it's good enough to actually be sent out. This is a question that people will ask.
Okay. Yeah. So I think, as for me, I would always get in contact with professionals. So back then I just had this luck that I was just, hanging around on a forum, and then there was like a little, hey, come to our chat room. And it was like, roughly 20 years, no, over 20 years ago. And there was this little chat room. It was running on IRC, on the IRC network. It's like really old. It looks like you're hacking NASA or something, when you talk. And I was fortunate enough to meet lots of professionals on that forum, already professionals that today are, CEOs of sample library companies, trailer music houses. So I met, it was like falling into that pool of people. And there's like, oh, hi guys, and I didn't know anyone, but I realized that they were way more advanced than I was. These were really professionals, and by sharing the tracks and listening to them, so I started to share my tracks. So it's like about jumping into that pool of cold water, and then asked professionals to give me an opinion. Awesome. And as soon, I mean, of course, there were people in there saying like, as soon as I had my first gig and I was thanking everyone, you could see like someone turned away, because I was competition now, I wasn't that rookie anymore, that amateur, suddenly I had a gig. But there will always be people that give you honest feedback because they know, hey, these are all colleagues. We're all working together at some point. That the entire music business and audio business, to include the sound designers, is just a small family. And at some point, I mean, of course, not everyone, but you say it like this, I have the feeling everyone around in this business. Yeah. So I would always rely on people that are professionals. So coming back to the point, when you think is that point where you just proceed, if you get an opinion from several professional composers, for example, and if they say, yeah, your track is ready to release, and you have like asked 5 composers and 3 say yes, or even just 2, I would just go for it, and then you can adapt this to other things, no matter if you just later on found a sample library company or whatever, you have a few beta testers. So if everybody, if like 100 people saying like, meh, this doesn't sound nice, then you want to review your stuff. But if there are like 8 or 9 people saying like, wow, this is awesome, it's just, it's about time to go online with that. And I think the rest is, as you say, is experience. I think you get to that point sooner or later where okay, so this is enough. I'm enough right now, and what I created is enough. And then it doesn't mean that's a bad thing, but you just have to stop somewhere. Otherwise, you would develop and write music forever. I mean, like on the same track, right?
Exactly. Just one track in a whole lifetime. Yeah.
Writing a book about it.
Exactly. So I think what you said there is like, it has the experience, of course, but also with this experience comes like you finding your identity in who you are in the music that you're making. And since music, I think is, I mean, as writing is, and probably also directing a movie, is a lot of heart. There goes a lot of heart into this, a lot of your own being, right, into making music. So this is, I think, it's why it's so hard to receive feedback or ask for feedback, because you think if they don't like my music, they don't like me.
Yeah,
but
right.
I would say this is not, I mean, it feels this way, but the feeling does actually fool you. I think it doesn't mean you're worth less if someone says your music isn't good. Yeah.
It's very tricky because I always say this, we make our music with emotions, we just pour our heart and blood, sweat and tears into our music. And then it's kind of, but just a completely different thing. But if you're trading Wall Street or crypto or something, everybody tells you, leave your emotions at home. You just invest that money, and then you look at this, and then you made money or you lost money, and then you keep on doing it, and you just keep your emotions out of this place forever. But when it comes to music, it's a completely different thing, because it's all these emotions, all these personal emotions that you put into the music. But then when you receive the feedback, you just have to cut that line on seeing things, right, emotional. And if you get feedback, yeah, if we just talk German, because it's if there would be like mean feedback,
exactly.
Like, but probably no one gets that right now. But anyway, but yeah, if you get like feedback from a company about a track that you poured your heart in, it's very difficult to just separate these personal emotions and the emotions that you put into the music.
Hmm. That's true. Yeah. But also this comes with experience. I mean,
Yeah.
I think the bigger the job gets and the higher you go up the ranks, so to say, and might work with one of your heroes or your the people who you look up to. It might come back a little bit, but I think so. I mean, I do this also for a long time. At one point, it's just like okay, um, and if you work for clients, I mean, the client is king
Yeah.
sometimes, at least.
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. But yeah, it's the same with peep composers that kind of like, I mean, in the end, it's art what we're creating, but this endless
Hmm.
discussion about a service and art, this like
Hmm.
as if it would be like 2 pages, and I feel probably, hopefully, not too many composers will be angry with me, but I mean, if somebody wants to create puristic art, and if somebody just only wants to create art, then the right business wouldn't be to go into video games or trailer music, or
Hmm. Right.
the best would be to rent an orchestral hall, rent an orchestra,
Hmm.
hire an orchestrator, or if you're good enough, you're just writing the scores yourself and just have an event night and then go there and
Yeah.
invite people and just perform your art, and then
Right.
if everybody likes it, fine. But if you work in the video games or trailer music sector, you just have to follow a specific pattern, a specific guidelines, because other people have visions about their project. If you
Hmm.
would found a project of having, like, for example, a sample library company, and somebody comes along and says like, hey, I just created this GUI of that contact interface because I like it, and you're like, but that has nothing to do with the library that I'm doing, and then
Right.
one of the sound designers goes out and says like, I know we were supposed to do violins today, but I met this rock drummer, and what do
Yeah.
you think of
Exactly.
these
Yeah.
loops? And
Right.
you're
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
so if everybody would come along and express their own art, um, a project that is based on collaboration and or also that has to be organized would entirely fail,
Yeah.
unless it
100%.
would be like a collaboration of several composers. Hey, write the
Right.
next 10, 20, 30 seconds, and just
Hmm.
create this awesome 10-minute piece or something.
Right. Right. I mean, yeah. I think the business side of our business is an art form in itself. I think you have to
Yeah.
learn it. And I think an artist, I mean, it comes down to what do you want. And I think having a goal of where you want to be in 10 or 20 years, it's a very good guideline to, okay, what do they need to do to get there and break it down and stuff like that. And if you want to be an artist, you just have to make art and push art and don't worry about what people say. Just do what you do. And maybe
Mhm.
only after your lifetime, they will recognize it as art. And the same is true with our business. I mean, we can only do so much we can be good service providers and we can make great music, but in
Mhm.
the end, it comes down to, does it hit a nerve? Is it the right
Yeah.
emotion? Am I do I accept feedback in a good way? And this is all, it's learning. And if you're not willing to learn or try things and fail, you will never go anywhere. I think, yeah, we come down to the
Yeah.
perfection, to overthinking, right?
Yeah.
So
And
um
there is, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah,
Sorry.
go ahead,
I
John.
just want to say that there is still, there is still room, even if you work for video games or something. I mean, if you listen to
Hmm.
whatever, my favorite score, Skyrim, or you listen to
Hmm.
what Mick Gordon did with Doom and all that stuff. I mean,
Hmm.
there is still room for uh, creative expression, and just doing
100%.
art, but you can do it within the patterns of all, or yeah, let's say the restrictions that you have been
Hmm.
given,
Yeah.
the concept of the game or something, and you can always have ideas. It's like the same a little bit with temp tracks. Sometimes I feel when people get temp
Hmm.
tracks, most composers think, oh, fine, now I have to write in D minor, if you know what I mean. So,
Hmm.
and I have to do this rising cello line or something. But most of the time, I see temp tracks, and I experience that with producers. As long as you not get angry with the temp tracks because somebody describes what you have to do, I see these at mood.
Mm-hmm.
as like a mood template. Somebody just wants to have action in their music. For example,
Right.
somebody wants that dark sound. It doesn't mean that you'd have to copy, just to name a composer, Hans Zimmer, Batman is like the most used temp track,
Oh,
at least
100%.
for me. So can you make it like this? And what
Mm-hmm.
people mostly refer to is the emotion and the mood that is happening with the music, and not exactly like a rising cello with distortion and dun dun
Mm-hmm.
dun da 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 da, da, something
Right.
like this. So, and I don't understand composers that say when they hear the temp track that they think they just have to simply copy someone,
Mm-hmm.
create music in the same sense. Of
Right.
course, there are
This is the next.
producers again. Yeah.
They want exactly that, and you hear lots of times in movies like, this must have been a template by Hans Zimmer, or this must have been a template like this, right?
Yeah.
You can, or yeah. But this is the next level, right? If you can actually dissect a temp track to its core emotion and then do something that actually hits this emotion in a way that the director wants or the producer wants. Yeah.
Nobody needs to copy other composers, right?
No.
I mean, I know
no,
there are producers. I had this in my career like a few years ago, that somebody asked me, can you make it exactly like this track? And I said, look, if I do it exactly like this, I may get into trouble, and nobody promises you that you're taking responsibility.
Right.
And even though they agreed and saying like, yes, of course we do, nobody wants to get sued for something. And it's just like I'm pardon for saying this, but a shitty thing to do. That just to copy someone else, almost note for note. This is something that I would never do, but sadly have been asked quite a few times to do.
Yeah. I did a lot of commercials, and this is where they really do want, actually, they want Justin Timberlake, or they want, like, I don't know, Rihanna or whatever, and then they can't afford it, of course, and then they ask me, can you do this? And I'm like, these days I say no, because I'm like, nah, I don't have a year for this. I have like 2 days, and it won't never come out the way they want it to. But it's hard. But these are the little tiny things that you have to like manage as a business owner, I would say, client demand. And you probably heard about the 80-20 rule, and I want to ask you about like
Pareto principle. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. That 20% that gets you the 80% of your results, basically. Do what you're good at and delegate the rest.
Yeah,
I would say this is how it works for me. And I would like to ask you, can you tell me something that you're absolutely not good at, that you have to delegate, maybe, or delegating at this time?
Yeah, there are a lot of things I'm not good at. This is, and I'm not making a fuss out of it. It's something actually that everybody seems to be proud in doing, but I absolutely don't like it. And it's just orchestrating, or at least writing the sheet music for orchestra sessions. So whenever I get hired to work on a score that will be recorded with real orchestra, I'm not making no fuss about it, and just say, I could do it, but it would probably take like 3 or 4 or 5 days to just like, what was the transposition of the notes of the B flat trumpet, and since like, but it already says B flat. I think it just had to be put on the C, but it's correct me if I'm wrong. But the same goes for the woodwinds, and you're like, what? Why is it a quarter? Why is it a fifth off? It's like, why don't they write it like, it's like with my tiny brain when you just think about all these things. Yeah. So basically, yes, like the entire the preparing for orchestral sessions. I always have an orchestrator, and I will always call him, no matter how small the budget is. I will say, look, we have to record this with real orchestra. Can you just do it? Because at this point, when we are about music creation and music writing, I just want to focus on writing music and not doing black dots on a white paper. And I mean, I love it. I love score, to just analyze stuff and to just read it and to train sight reading. And because you can precisely write down rhythm and all that stuff. But especially when you work in hybrid stuff, how do you note down a synthesizer that you're just going to, that you just open with a cutoff, and you have a
Yeah.
sine wave, and then you're doing like a cutoff
Wow.
filter and blah blah blah, and how do you put that into scores? You
Yeah.
can't
Right.
actually, or maybe somebody
Right.
found out a way on how to do this and actually already knows this, but it's too complicated, doing
Hmm.
like a distorted timpani drum riser with taikos in the background or
It's
something. How
hard.
do you write
That's
that
hard.
down?
Hmm.
Yeah. So I would leave that process always to a professional. Yeah.
Hmm. Right. I think. I mean, for. I mean, we're all living in our studios alone, basically, and I like the idea of having several people working on my music
Hmm.
together. So we create a masterpiece together. It starts from like the composer, then musicians. I mean, some stuff we can play ourselves, and the samples are actually quite good. So it sounds good, but you always add the human touch if you add any kind of music, any kind of instrument to it, like real live players. And then, of course, the whole like post process after the composition is done, um, from the orchestra to the orchestrator, and like
Hmm.
everything around the sound engineer in the room and stuff like that. I think if you would do this, I mean, I think there are people that like to do it all this on themselves, and also conducting and all that. I think
Yeah.
it makes it more interesting, and in my opinion, in my experience, also better if you have other people chime in on your music and help you achieve the better outcome. I
Yeah.
think so. Yeah, I
I
think
mean,
this is a good way
it's
to do it.
always like this thing, like 4 or 6 I see more than two, or in this case,
100%.
ears. Yeah, I think.
Yes,
I mean, if
100%.
you take somebody is specifically like Brian Tyler, who does it
Hmm.
all, like writing
Hmm.
till conducting the orchestra and all that stuff. I mean, that's his style, But
Hmm.
this turns out to be exactly. Um, I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but there would be probably no other way. If somebody, that's probably it. If somebody else would orchestrate it, or somebody else would,
You
it
would
would
find
turn out
something.
a little bit different. That there
Yeah.
would be like the car would drift off on the street once in a while. So
Right.
I don't know. I could be totally wrong, but this is yeah. But yes, I would always try to get as many professionals in there. Even so,
Hmm.
even if there's somebody better at mastering than I am, I
Uh-huh.
mean, I just try to master my tracks, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it works very well, and sometimes I
Hmm.
don't get it, and sometimes the project is too big, so I just want to
Give it up. Hmm.
outsource this to a
Hmm.
professional mastering engineer. Yeah. So I think that we should always have fun instead of just when it comes to
Yeah.
yeah
It,
worryful
I
things
think
and
exactly. And
trying.
I don't know, trying rather than making a
Yeah,
difference in this. Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it comes down sometimes to budget, right? You have to sometimes do
yeah, of course.
all on your own, right? But I would always encourage anyone. I mean, I would probably start with a musician, even if it's a cello, or I can play guitar, so a guitar player, because it just sounds much better, or
Yeah,
it adds this little extra tone to your track, um, and yeah, so that's interesting that this. I mean, I can write scores, but the same thing. It's like it would take years for me to write it all down, and then I give it to someone else, and I know it sounds okay in the end, or better
hmm,
than I do it.
yeah,
It's always a little bit of has a little bit to do with pride. I want to do it all on myself, but in the end, it doesn't. It has to do with like, are you business or are you an artist?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the middle line there, right? So, but if it comes to projects in general, what's the process for you to decide if a project is worth your time, or your team's time, if you have a team around you, um, if you're going to do it or not? Is how do you measure the how do you put your energy and resources into something? What's your process there?
That's still difficult. I think
Hmm.
I'm still chaotic when it comes to this. So
Hmm.
lots of it is impulses that you just
Hmm.
love to work on something and you just get asked and you like the project that much that you simply say, yes, I do it, without even,
Hmm.
getting like how much could be paid or something. And sometimes it's just funny because it comes to my mind right now that I worked on a project that I thought was just like a few $100.
Hmm.
And that person asked me, would you like to write that track? And I said, yeah, that sounds great. I will do that, and I just jumped right in without even negotiating the budget.
Hmm.
But then the funny thing is it turned out to be 5 digits, you know, and I was like,
Oh wow.
okay. So I was pleasantly pleased,
Yeah,
when I could write the invoice, and I would never
that's
expect it.
awesome.
But the cool thing is what I found. I mean, I don't want to say that I'm cool or something, but what was kind of like a confirmation, like a test. I would better to say that, to name this better. It was like a test, testing myself. Do I work as reliable and putting that much quality into my music when it's just for like a few $100? The same way as if I would be working on something
Hmm.
that pays, like 5 digits or something. And
Hmm.
I can gladly give this answer saying like, yes, I put that much work
Right.
into this little
Awesome.
track, which I
Hmm.
thought, oh man, this will be probably like 300 or $500 in the end.
Hmm.
So, yeah, coming back to your question, it's difficult. Some For me, most of the time, if I accept something, is do I want to work on this? And then, of
Hmm.
course, I mean, we are all humans only, and we don't live from just love and air.
Yeah,
You just
unfortunately,
sometimes you
yes.
just have to accept everything. You just there are phases when you just suddenly it's like, oh, you had to pay taxes, or there
Hmm.
was no gig coming in for like a few weeks, which absolutely still happens. And sometimes
Happens, yeah.
you just have to recharge your battery. Sometimes you have to be. I think I was at a point many years ago where I was almost burning out, where I was like,
Hmm.
if I don't stop, something goes really wrong, And most of the time, when it's about this point, when it's on this stage that you realize something is wrong, it is already wrong. So I
Hmm.
think I was like on this edge, of like tipping over, falling over this cliff.
The
And
cliff,
then I
yeah.
just went like back and saying like, okay, I just have to, take things a little bit slower here. So that's why I always talk about mental health so much, and encourage everyone to take cold showers on Facebook.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, yeah.
So yeah, but I mean, it's a mix. Sometimes where you have
Hmm.
these phases where you just simply have to accept everything. But
Hmm.
if all goes kind of like okay, then of course I decide. I really brutally and roughly decide: do I have time for this? Is it
Hmm.
worth what I'm getting paid? Because I don't like to work for weeks on something and you just make like, okay, here's $50, and
Yeah,
then you're like,
right.
this doesn't work out because we all have rent to pay, we have a family to take care of, and
Hmm.
we have to eat something, and the
Hmm.
dog has to eat something, sleeping over there in the
They
corner.
do. No,
And
exactly.
then yeah, so you have a little bit of responsibility, and the most important thing
Hmm.
is when you are at a stage that you're in business like 5, 10, 15 years, you just have to make these cuts and saying like, okay,
Yeah.
now I don't need to accept this. And
Hmm.
if you're courageous to just take this spare time, but not like to just chill for like 3 months or something, but decide what you want to work on, then you always, as you said before, also think a little bit in this 20/80 rule, that you just put all
Hmm.
the stuff aside that it's not worth to work on, and
Hmm.
keep space for the good and the big stuff,
Yeah,
or even to just
exactly.
set up
Yeah.
your own business, and be successful with whatever you're coming up with.
Right. I mean, you made the step, and not relying on client work alone, I think is a
Mhm.
huge improvement to the whole business. Because I mean, waiting for people to call you is probably the worst business decision you can make. And
Yeah.
so you have to have some kind of like idea what your business structure looks like. So I think offering something to the community like you do is a very smart move. And then, yeah, because no project lasts forever, and you have to always
Yeah.
hunt for the next one after that, right? So this is
Also the fun the thing is with AI, you just currently everybody is like, oh my god, AI will destroy the world and all that stuff, and I don't think like this. I mean, of course there will be, you know, heads will be rolling, you know, it's like stuff will happen, but I feel in a sense, just to quickly go into this, but I feel I'm not worried about this because I would rather jump into AI development or get hired by a company that I, you know, could need my resources or whatever, you know, or even if it's like doing, you know, the marketing that I've learned from my business and apply this for, you know, whatever this is, but maybe jumping on something and not to be like a, you know, to be like somebody who is you're just selling their soul or something, but just to have at this point, I would be better off by just, you know, maybe leave music and do something that where I can make a living from, and then I will have time and pleasure to write my own music and still continue doing music. But for me, it happened that I started to be a professional composer, meaning that at this time I still can make a living from music. So, but yeah, you just at some point you just have to find out, especially during the Corona time. I started working on courses before Corona hit, like probably a year before I started thinking about that it may be a good idea to go on and do something for yourself. And to that time, when the virus hit, it sounds so dramatic right now because, but it really was. I mean, how many people lost their jobs and how many musicians and especially
100%.
live musicians couldn't perform anymore. And I think I was fortunate enough, and it also hit the entire gaming industry, for example. So there was like a complete, you know, and at this point, I was so happy that I just came off with my little store and selling like these little sample libraries that I did, where I think I found like a little niche of developing something that is not that popular, you know, when it comes to specific instruments or something. Or specific sound effects. And then I was so happy that I did that because it paid my rent for a very long time, you know. And then
that's awesome.
Yeah, the courses took over, and then of course you have to reject some gigs you're working on, or you can't accept. I mean, and it's interesting.
Awesome. Yeah. So
I drifted off a little bit. Sorry.
No. That's really. I think it's really interesting to hear, and I think this is also something that others that the composers, musicians that listen to this, that they. I mean, as you said, we need to make money from the stuff we want. I mean, we need to make money, and if we can do it from the stuff we like, it's even better. And so, I think you're the perfect person to ask this. What would you say to a composer or musician if they asked you, what do I have to do the next 30 days to get my business as a composer going?
Yeah.
Or maybe you can also say it's longer, but I mean, 30 days, I think it's a period of time that everyone can actually comprehend and say, okay, I can do this for 30 days, you know?
Yeah. I mean, this is a little bit like what I came up with in my Audio Entrepreneur Challenge, which is like one of the courses where I basically talked about this. I reduced it a little bit to like 11 days, but it was just like a guideline to just know one day focus about one thing. And technically, if you just have like an idea like this, you could get this all going in like 2 weeks. But if it would be like a month, I would seriously sit down and think about or focus with my time not by writing emails to companies and saying like, hey, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm an award-winning blah, blah, blah composer. Do you need, you know, it always screams like, you know, hey, I need money. Can you pay me? This is like everything that it does. And I believe that if you show what you do, if you just, I mean, so many composers have their websites out there and you don't even see a photo of them And it's just like, yeah, my name. I have seen websites where it's not even the name on it. Hey, I'm a composer. I compose music because I believe blah blah blah. And it's like all that blah 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 blah. And then you listen to the music, and then the music has to be that good that you say, okay, I will call that guy or write an email because that music just blew me off my socks. But that is very rare, and it's just it's not. There is lots of great music out there, but I think this would have to be like you're in the perfect emotional state right now. You're at the right website right now at this time where you're like, really enthusiastic about something. And then this music triggers it even more. This would be, but what I'm trying to say, so many composers, just have their website and think work is coming by just having their website on there. But I believe in social media that you just use it to just show what you love. And if you want to get into the trailer music business, for example, if you just really focus on doing, I'm kind of like strangling myself with a cable.
On a short leash.
Yeah. So if somebody wants to get, for example, into trailer music only, I would just say just write as much music as you can, but not just sitting at home and doing it all, but get on a live stream, get on Twitch, do YouTube videos about it. Hey, this is my process of getting into the trailer music business, trailer music industry. Today, I'm writing my first track, and you're just turning on that camera and just start writing music. And then people may say, man, you're just stupid. Your music sounds shitty, but no matter what happens, you just keep going. And if you just set the stone, you won't get to, maybe you will get to a result within like these 30 days. But I believe if you do that for like 30 days on a consistent basis, you won't have a problem like doing it for a full year or 2 years,
right?
And then getting contacted by companies, getting endorsements, all of these things. Maybe it starts different. Maybe you're doing really cool trailer hits, for example, and then suddenly you get like a message by Heaviosity or just making up some company names, and and then would you like to create sound design for us? Or you play really great guitar. Do you want to create some sound designish elements for our new sample library by using your guitar? So it doesn't always have to be writing finished music. There is so much happening from your initial idea to the finished music, and I think you can sell all this in between. If you to do some self promotion quickly. I mean, I have my store, and many people do struggle with like finding right string ostinatos. Just how to write ostinatos, or they just want to simply save some time because they know how they do it. So I'm having these. I mean, MIDI packs. There is always this evil face lurking behind it. Like, oh, MIDI packs. And probably happened because of people just selling like individual chords and it's like sticking chords together. It's like, man, we probably all know what it means. But if it's just more in the sense of education and it's more specified, it's also with the inspirational packs that try to go for a specific trailer mood that shows people who wants to educate themselves. They want to learn how to arrange something without learning orchestration on sheet paper. So we all know that, when you're a guitar player or something, you're not learning music when you or let's say someone is probably not that motivated as a guitar player when you put like sheet music in front of them and say, so first you have to learn notes. We learn rhythm, we learn all the, you want to play Led Zeppelin, some kind of like a lick, and you just want to play a Jimi Hendrix solo or Johnny B. Good or something. You want to play an A minor pentatonic. And I had a teacher that put like an E, an A, a jam track, like always like E, A, all the time. And I started playing pentatonic and I started to improvise. I started to think, I started to do my own wiring up there, and not just saying like, okay, now let's perform etude number, whatever, and then, I think I drifted off too far. I lost my red line.
Your store and your ostinatos, yeah, and how they
Yeah. Yeah, so I just offered something in my store that helps people getting there, and I think we. Sorry, I really lost it.
No, I think
I'm getting
when
old.
I understand correctly, what I wanted to say is, so you were saying that you just for 30 days just put
Right,
yourself out
we,
there, and
right.
then you wanted to do some self promotion with the ostinados. I'm not sure how you connect this to this, but I think
Yeah, this is.
this stuff
Thank
somehow
you.
helped you. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for saving me. I'm getting
No,
old.
no, it's all good.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
it's
me too.
like no, I'm just yeah, but we all but yeah, this is like if you start something on a consistent basis by using to sum it up, if you just do that on a consistent basis,
Right.
doing this on social media, show it to the world, getting connected with the right people. I know so many people that just spread their Facebook page, on Facebook and saying like, please like my page. This does nothing, So
Nothing
if you
to you.
just,
That's true.
or I've literally seen someone writing on Hans Zimmer's wall, hey, I play this and that instrument. This is my phone number. Just call me. And of course, Hans Zimmer doesn't know any cellists, he will,
No, right.
is this the only one? He will probably call him, but it's just so much better to just express what you're doing. And then in a sense, I take a lot from video gaming. And if you look on Twitch, there are a lot of people just doing what they love. They play video games and then people get
Right.
interested. And if you do that for like a year or 2 or 3, you can make money off that. And no matter how
Right.
people think it's idiotic to do this, but these people do it with consistency all the time. Of course, many fail, and the same you can do if you want to get somewhere. And no matter what it is, if you just want to write for video games, if you want to write trailer music, if you want to build your own business, it's all a matter of consistency. That is the
Right.
big.
I mean, if you're consistent with what you do, you're probably 99% ahead of 99% of the people.
And not
I think the
overthinking,
1%,
of course.
yeah, not waiting too long. That's true, yeah. So, I mean, this is very true. Like doing something for 30 days, it takes much more out of you than you would think. But if you do it, it will change at least your perspective, and also will change how you approach things. That's I'm 100% certain that this will help to start your journey for sure. And then from there, we as entrepreneurs and composers, we project our successes to the future. So when we're successful when we hit this revenue goal, or we're successful when we finish this track, or we're successful when we finish this album, and then at least for me this happens. Then seconds before we hit this goal, we are thinking of another goal. So what we do next, what's coming next, what's come up, which is kind of normal as entrepreneurs. We have to do this, otherwise we wouldn't create anything, right? And that's part of our journey. But rather than looking forward, I would love for you to stop and look back and tell us a little bit about about the highs and lows and the wins and losses in your journey, and how you feel about this whole crazy thing up until now.
Oh, that's a difficult question. The heights and losses. How I feel about this. This is yeah, I want to get a little bit personal here. So basically, when I do music, from when I started writing music, there was nothing that really, I was always not overthinking, of course, but in the end, for the end result, I'm doing things and just proceeding longer. But a big backslash business-wise was definitely the birth of my daughter, and because there was like it's probably a long story. We probably would need another podcast or another episode for this. But just to make it short, she was born disabled. So there was like the first time when she was when it was about that you heard, well, what is going on? It was like that moment where somebody said like, did somebody put me in a different movie? It was like really like taking you out and just like putting you into that. And then the weird thing is, but nothing happens or happened to me itself. I was just the father, you know. But when she was born, and of course I was happy, and everything. It's like you're getting enthusiastic, and I always see things positive, no matter how hardcore it seems. And there were quite a few points where we almost lost her, you know, due to surgery or due to you know, just putting into coma after hemorrhage, like brain bleeding for the and it's really like a difficult time. So actually nothing really in music, there are not that many moments that put me down career-wise, because somebody just kicked me or fired me or whatever, or something bad happened. But it was just like that you had to save your resources by taking care of her and, you know, doing the best that she's living the life that she deserves. And there was definitely that was kind of like very challenging, you know, to just keep up working. And it happened all during a time where I was just building to getting into the trailer music industry, you know. So you would just like working on this and achieving a goal, and then on the other hand you just had like to deal with you know, all the negative stuff that disability brought along. So that was really that was really challenging. And you know, at the same time, the ups, of course, were moments like when I in that chat room that I mentioned before, there was also Thomas Bergeson in that chat room. As far as I think he was in that chat room too, around that same time. I started to know him, and then we just had a chat once in a while, because I felt like we came along pretty well, and he was, you could already know, I mean, I met him later, and I knew he was like the same charming guy like he still is, you know. So I always felt like he was always nice and kind and helped me and supported me. And then one day there was this point when he said, would you love to write an album for us? And this was like 2012, like the first opportunity, you know, to write an album for Two Steps from Hell. And I know this is like, it was just like one of these moments where I think like not a lot of people on this planet, it's like almost everyone knows Two Steps from Hell right now. I mean, they're touring and wrote a lot of really cool albums, and they were always my idols. And suddenly, you know, you had like Thomas asking me to write an album for Two Steps from Hell, which happened again in 2020, you know, so writing another album for Two Steps from Hell. So these are these steps that I think that really, where I thought, man, this is like, you know, when you see like downs coming and all that stuff, and you just see something that happens. And especially the first album happened when my daughter was 7. So roundabout, she had how do you call this in English? I don't even know. I think it's hip dysplasia or hip dysplasia or something, where it's like it's a complicated process, but basically there has to be adjustments made in the hip, and it was rather gory, really like butcher's work, to be honest. And this was like a time when you just had to dive into this and going through all that nightmare. And I always feel bad, because it wasn't me too that was happening. They weren't, you know. I don't want to go into the processes of what they did exactly with the surgery, because it's too, it's kind of hardcore. But you know, it wasn't me experiencing this, but I was just the father. But you just had to deal with this emotionally and psychologically. So, and at the same time, like it happened that I was able to that I got the opportunity to write for this album. So it was like down and then and up again. It was like really emotional, you know. And so, and basically my entire life is like this. So I got used to this in a sense.
Oh wow.
Yeah, but I mean, she's doing well. I mean, she's 15 already, and she's doing really well. Lots of surgeries in between and all that stuff, you know. But it's like I think it was my daughter that actually taught me that I have to keep a sane mind, you know, doing this you know, being interested a lot in mental health. to just keep a sane mind by doing this, because you always have like two choices, and you're either going down, no matter if you just have a personal problem that just affects yourself. If there's something, you always have these choices then you can do. You can just be on the floor and not getting up again, and you can just decide to go up again and rise and learn from your experiences. And so that was really that. These are really downs and ups in my life.
Yeah. Well, that's crazy, man. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing this. I mean, this is
sure.
This makes a lot of sense. That like, and also happening at the same time, which is kind of how life sometimes like throw this stuff at you. It's crazy, but yeah, it's great that you are seeing it optimistically and seeing the good side of it. And people could also be like taking down so much by this that they just would stop or do something else.
But I know kudos. a lot of parents. Thank you so much. But I actually know a lot of parents, of disabled kids, because my daughter goes on a school with just Smurfies. We just love, calling them Smurfs. Because it's just like they are so sweet when you go pick your daughter up from school and you see like all these kids coming out, and so it's so cute. And I know a lot of parents, and most of the time I feel like they learn from this. So in a really weird way, I would love everybody would have a disabled kid, or everybody would have access to disabled kid, because it's like wiser than any book out there, because it gives you so much perspective. And also this what we talked about before, this 5-second rule or something, she doesn't have to deal with taxes and all these other stuff, the struggling business wise, and the stress and all that stuff. When she's like playing with a toy or something, she's completely by herself, but she notices her surroundings and everything. And she's pretty crystal clear, and she even knows what is going on with her. And sometimes she makes use of it, especially when she gets like a little piece of chocolate after eating. I mean, just sharing this, but sometimes she's just, closing her mouth and refuses to eat because she knows she will get a piece of chocolate afterwards. It's really crazy. And then you think wow, what is going on? So, but she isn't worrying about something, she isn't sitting there and it's like thinking, and you see that. It's not something that I assume. You just see that by her facial expression, that she's just happy. And it's not just, seizures or some kind of like that is caused by the disability. You see that she's truly happy. And
awesome.
So I think you can learn a lot from this, probably more than from any motivational book or something. It's
100%. I mean, we see the situation from the outside. I mean, I don't have a disabled kid, so I don't know really how it feels like, but you see the situation from the outside, and then you see that your daughter in this case, dealing with it is our perspective, but she is how she is, and she is happy how she is. She doesn't she doesn't mind, right? And we're always like, are they good or whatever? So that's awesome, man. Thank you. That's really wow.
Of course. I mean, I can talk openly about this. I can talk openly about this because it just always reminds that thinking is, sometimes I'm not sure if the process of thinking itself is really that good for us, I mean, planning is good. Organizing stuff is good, and the logical processes, of course, I'm not, but the process of worrying, especially and thinking, you get up in the morning and you just have like, everybody knows this. You get like up in the morning and all problems are relative, right? There are people that have way worse conditions than we do. There are kids that are way more disabled than my daughter, and just always putting it to perspective. But we all know this when we get up in the morning and we have our neurons firing and swamping our brain with all the negative bullshit that's around. And so you're waking up in the morning and you're just like, I have to do this, I have to do this, and then there's this I have to deal with, and blah blah blah. How am I managed to do this all? I would rather turn around and continue sleeping, or
Yeah, right.
and not always, but it happens very often that this stuff is like circulating in the brain right in the moment. But when you get up and you have this choice and you just say like, no, this day is going to be awesome, I'm just, and then you realize that all the thinking, all that 90% of our thinking process is just worrying about something, what we did wrong in the past or what could happen in the future. And nobody just stays in this moment right now. And mostly everybody would agree, if you just think about right now, are you happy in this moment by, watching this podcast or, doing whatever, just going out and watching the sun as something. There is most of the time nothing that really is, painful or something.
All right. That's true. Yeah.
Of course,
a lot of it,
I have to be aware of people there when
right.
they're experiencing severe pain or something. They're going through something that is really hardcore. But just talking about if you're a healthy person and if you're just, most of us spend their time in the past and the future and not like in the moment realizing right now, hey, I can enjoy, like the sun in the sky and just like seeing the forest or the light breaking through and all that stuff. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah. I think the moment, I think this is something we really have to savor, like to be really in it, because we have today.
Yeah.
We don't have to care about tomorrow so much. And the past is the past. So that's awesome, man. But it also leads very, very nicely into my last question for today, which is, when your career would be ending today, what kind of inheritance would you leave behind, and would this be the inheritance you would love for it to be?
So first of all, we already talked about this. You can't make it right for everyone. So there will always be people, even if I would put like the most perfect online course out there for free or the most perfect YouTube video by thinking of everything that I could, there would always be someone, but I'm ignoring these people because you simply can't make it right. If it's just negativity or something that somebody spreads, I ignore this if it's constructive criticism. So, but using this as a situation, I think if I would have to leave or if I would have to end doing music or end what I do today, I think I can be I'm pretty okay with what I left, especially I think since we are in a digital age. A lot of people have access to my YouTube channel, and I think I did so many tutorials and talked about also mental health and all these little things that hopefully helps composers to keep a sane mind. No matter if they want to do music from a hobby point of view, if they want to become professional composers, if they want to do video games or trailer music. So I think I contributed a little bit to all of these things. And I can say if I just have to just go today, I would be pretty happy with what I left. So yeah.
That's awesome, man. Cool. I love this.
But that's a deep question. I'm probably just... I know. The same with episode 3 on Last of Us. I would probably sit there for a few days and just like, think about this.
I get to watch it. So
you didn't watch it so far?
1 and 2, yes, but 3 not.
Oh,
not yet.
You have to. So I'm so glad I didn't. Just
no spoilers, please.
No, never. I never spoiled. So, but you will. It's awesome. All I can say is that it's very emotional, but.
Oh wow! Okay, I mean, I love this show. Up until now, it's really well written and nicely done, music wise as well. So yeah. So where can people find out more about you, and where would you like to lead them now from here?
I mean, I would be happy to invite everyone to check out my YouTube channel, and I think from there they will find all kinds of hopefully helpful stuff, no matter if it's my store or if it's like a personal consulting session with me, or like a track review video, or all the things that I offer, or my course is about video games and trailer music. So I probably from my YouTube channel Makes sense. If you see that guy, that bald guy, or with a beanie on, with a beard, and the tattoo.
I'll put the link in the description for sure. So if everyone who wants to find out.
Yeah.
And yeah,
And
thank you
also
so
just
much.
quickly before I forget that, sorry,
Yeah.
but there I would offer like a 30% discount just in case we can leave a discount. We didn't talk about this actually, to be honest, until so far, but I would just give you, a discount that they could use for the online courses that you could also put. So just in case if somebody wants to check them out, hopefully that helps.
Wow. Awesome. I didn't expect that. Awesome.
No
Thank
worries.
you so much. Everyone will love it.
It's been a pleasure.
And thank you so much for coming on and for the interview, for your honesty and your vulnerability also a little bit. I really enjoyed talking to you, man. And
yeah, Sebastian.
Yeah, we keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. And again, thanks so much for having me. And yeah, continued success to you too.
Thank you. You too, man. Talk to you soon.
Talk to you.